Deck the buckets with boughs of holly. Fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to make money. Fa la 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 la. Welcome to Buckets. Happy holidays to you if you choose to celebrate. We're glad to have you with us as we wrap up the end of the year with our special Christmas edition of Buckets. On today's show, we're going to give you the plays on the NBA's most special day of the regular season. It's Christmas Day slate. We will break down every game in detail, give you sides, give you props, give you totals on most of the games. We'll give you best bets across the board. And to do that, well, I brought the whole crew from Santa's Workshop. I brought almost all of our Buckets contributors onto this podcast on one call. I'm going to herd them like reindeer so that we can give you the best bets for this Christmas Day slate. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network. Reminder that everything we talk about today can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. It's the best way for you to track your picks, the best way for you to figure out where the money is coming from, also where the money is directing the line. You can follow that in the pro reports. You can get all of our content. You can access our live shows like the favorites. You can get the Action Network podcast and the happy hour with Nick Giffen and that crew. You can catch so much great stuff on the Action Network app. Also, make sure to check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/The Action Network. It's the absolute best way. You get so much cool stuff on there, all of our live shows. If you guys want to support us, go to the YouTube page, hit the like and subscribe button. We will go around this Zoom table that I've got, and I will introduce everybody. And I'm going to cold call this. Give me an awesome Christmas gift that you once got. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to think about this while I blather, in order to give you time to think about this as I choose which one of you fools I'm going to actually call on first. And because he's the newest, I'm definitely going to call on Andrew O'Connor Watts, who joins us on Mondays first. Andrew, how you doing? What is what's a Christmas gift you got that you once loved?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Matt. I luckily thought of something at the last second, and was tickets to a Knicks game in the Garden when I was like 12 years old against the Bobcats. They were playing with, there were these drunk guys in front of us screaming, "Okafor, you suck!" the whole time. It was great. I loved it. Knicks won.
That's literally the only time that giving someone the Knicks is a kind thing. That's literally the only time in its history. Brian Fonseca, if you celebrate, don't have to if that's not a thing you do. What's a Christmas gift that you've gotten that you liked?
NBA Live 2004 in 2003, my first Xbox game. I got an Xbox, I think, that same Christmas, but NBA Live 04 with Vince Carter on the cover. That was my first game, and that basically changed my life.
Sean Little, if you celebrate, what's a Christmas gift that you like?
And Fonseca's about to make me feel old right here. Because my favorite gift of all time easily is the Super Nintendo. When I ripped off the paper and saw Mario and Yoshi on the front of that Super Nintendo black and red font box, it was electric in the little household. So yeah, Super Nintendo, easy.
Jim Turvey, what's a gift that you got that you loved?
Well, I was gonna say triple play baseball in '99, but I think we're like running too much with a theme here, so I'll zag. I'll do my other big interest, WNBA hoodie a few years back. That orange hoodie, love that thing. Wear it like 6 days a week probably. So that was a pretty good gift.
You should watch that, Jim. Albert
no,
Wynn,
I have yet to watch it actually. So
Albert Wynn, the analytics capper. If you celebrate, what's a Christmas gift you got?
Yeah, this one was tough. I was going through, the memories there. So Asian American, my parents are first generation. If you look in the dictionary, like tiger parents, that's my mom and dad. Like tiger parents. I was taking piano lessons when I was like 5 or 6. Caveat: piano lessons without a piano. I didn't have a keyboard. I didn't have a piano. Literally just like pretending while I'm going to lessons. So one Christmas day, I think I was like 6 or 7. They actually got me like a full keyboard, so that was really fun.
That's awesome. Joe DeLaro, Christmas gift if you celebrate.
No, for sure. I mean, for sure. But I was a big Pokemon fan growing up, and I got a pack of Pokemon cards. There was like 3 of them, and I think I was like 6 years old or 7 years old at the time, and I opened it. And I got a Charizard. So that was the big. I was running around the house saying, I got Charizard. Still have that Charizard to this day, wrapped up. You guys know the collect cards, you got to have it in the top loader. So we're sleeved in that top loader It's nice and set. Maybe you'll ship it off to PSA and get another Christmas gift another time.
That's awesome. I'll just say mine, because I'm older than all of you. I am way older than all of you. My dad scoured Memphis, Tennessee on a road trip, and he got me the original Voltron Lions, all 5 of them. And I lost my fucking mind when he brought that home, like screaming around the house like Kevin McAllister. You should check out a YouTube version of the show, by the way, because we are decked out, several of us, in Christmas sweaters. I've got the accoutrement, and I'm actually drinking eggnog, which Jim was asking, is that real eggnog? And I said, no, it's from like a real dairy label. He's like, no, I meant it's spiked, you idiot. And I was like, oh, that's right. Reminder that all the boys can be found in the Action Network app and on Twitter. So make sure to check them out in the app. You can follow their plays in the Action Network app. We are sad to report that Jay Money is not with us because he had dental work due today. So you will be able to get his plays in the app and on his YouTube page as well. So make sure to check that out. We hope Jay feels better. Let's get down to business, because Matt Mitchell is going to be like, where the fuck are the picks? All right, let's get started here. We're going to start with the picks, with the games that we have the most picks on. And we're going to go down towards when we have the fewest. And so we're going to start with the game I'll be at on Monday. The Denver Nuggets taking on the Golden State Warriors. Warriors, off of that huge win versus the Boston Celtics, they'll have a game in between there, taking on the Denver Nuggets, defending champions. The Nuggets are at home for the second year on Christmas. Nuggets are a 4.5-point favorite. The early look-ahead line, as a heads up on this, the total on this game, these totals were posted kind of look ahead, and I'm expecting them to be altered because we've had way scoring up. The lines have gone up with them. There hasn't been like an edge on the overs. But so when we talk about these things, we have total plays. We'll give you ranges of where you should and should not play them. That said, the Nuggets are a very popular play for us on this show. So we're going to start, and let's start with Jim Turvey and why he likes the Denver Nuggets minus 4.5. Jim?
Yeah, this is the pick we're all on, which, we know what happens when we're all on one pick, but hopefully we walk through it and you join us, and it doesn't happen the way we think it will happen after those plays tend to go. But for me, Denver's been a little bit whatever to the spread as a whole this season. They're under 500 against the spread, but at home they're still holding strong. They are still those home Nuggets that we've thought of them in seasons past, where the market just doesn't seem to quite adjust enough for that home stadium they've got there. But the bigger thing for me here is the Draymond Green of it. He's missing, and the Warriors have actually played pretty well of late. A little bit of Ewing theory there. They've won 3 in a row without him. But this is a matchup where I think it's really going to rear its head a little bit. On defense, he's the best option they have to even slow down Jokic. But even more on the other side of the ball, the Warriors have been a little bit of a tricky matchup at times for Denver because they can pull Jokic up in that Curry and Draymond pick and roll, and that's one of the trickier spots for him to be in defensively. That there's no way to do that now. Looney is not going to be able to run the 4-on-3 like Draymond can. He can't space out, even though Draymond at this point isn't spacing as much. It's just, it takes a big bite out of their offensive attack against Denver. So honestly, I had this way higher. I've had it at Nuggets -8 unadjusted, because I'm not buying that having Draymond Green out is a plus. So there's plenty of wiggle room for me on this here. I'm curious to see, it sounds like everyone else is on that path as well.
All right, let's get Andrew O'Connor Watts' sense for why he's also on Nuggets minus 4.5.
Yeah, so the first thing that popped to me was the line itself. This is the exact same line that we had in Denver in early November against these two teams. The only difference is, okay, Draymond didn't play in that game, but neither did Jamal Murray, and he will most likely be in this game. So I don't understand why this is the same line with a player that's at least 2 points to the spread. The Nuggets are 51-23 with Murray and Jokic since last season, 11 for this season. But another reason that I liked that was more generally, so what have been the biggest weaknesses for Denver historically, or more recent history? Bench and defense, right? So let's start with the defense. They're 11th in adjusted defensive rating this season. They're 6th in the last 10 games, while the Warriors are just 19th in the last 10 games. Even a few of those games had Draymond in the lineup, but I think Gary Payton II has been a huge factor, him being gone. With the bench, we know the Nuggets starters are elite, right? They're 3rd in net rating for starters, 11.7. The Warriors are 19th on the season, minus 1.9. But in the last 5 games, we've seen players like Reggie Jackson, Peyton Watson, Christian Brown really stepped up. Denver is 4th in bench net rating in the last 5 games, plus 6.4, with Golden State solid at 12th in bench net rating. But I really like the way that those bench guys are playing. I like Reggie Jackson, maybe a little 250 to 1 for 6th man of the year. I'd be curious to hear what you guys think about that. Don't want to derail us too much, but those were the big reasons. Bench, defense, both massively improved since last time these two played.
Yeah, so I think if you're watching this game, right, and you're trying to get away from your family and you want to live bet on this game, one thing I would tell you to look out for, the Nuggets bench has been a lot better. They've been a lot better. However, this Warriors bench has been really good with Chris Paul and Brandon Podziemski, right? No Gary Payton for this one, but I do think there's probably an opportunity. If the Nuggets build a big lead early, there's probably a chance to go back on Golden State. Like, I think this is a good middle game. I think grabbing Nuggets minus 4.5 based off of what Andrew kind of talked about with the line and where it's at, I think does kind of lean a little bit towards like I lean towards Nuggets. I may wind up playing Nuggets just because they have been so good at home. I will say this season they're 5-3 ATS at home with Murray and Jokic. Like, the market is wise. It's still over 500, but it's not like it has been, because the market is wise to this team is a fucking demon. Like, they're a wagon at home. Their losses are to the Rockets, the Thunder straight up in a massive comeback for OKC where Denver just fell apart late. And then an early season game versus Utah in a back-to-back where the Nuggets screwed around and the Jazz barely covered. So it's true that they've been a wagon at home, but I do think there's probably an opportunity here for like Nuggets get out to a big lead and then come back on Golden State when they start to get into specifically the Podziemski bench minutes with Chris Paul. Like, that's an opportunity where I think that there's probably value. Joe, you also have a play on the Nuggets on minus 4.5. Why do you like this one?
Yeah, like I like Denver. They've been unbelievable at home this season, 11-2 straight up, plus 11.5 net rating, and the offense is just cooking. 124.8 points per 100, and like Jim had kind of alluded to, and Andrew as well, with the defense of Golden State, I don't really see any way that they're going to be able to stop Denver or really slow them down. And it kind of checks out when you look at each of their individual players as well. Like, Jokic is averaging a triple double against Denver or against Golden State over the last 2 seasons. Murray's been dynamite, 26 and 33 points in both games, and MPJ has been incredible as well. Like, he's hit 3 or more threes in each of the 4 games that he's played against Golden State over the last 2 seasons. So I think that from a matchup perspective as well, on like an individual level, Denver has plus matchups for each of Jokic, Murray, MPJ, and even Aaron Gordon, who's got 2 double-doubles in 3 games against Golden State in the last 2 seasons. So I think that on like from a bigger picture level, I like Denver just overall anyway. I think that they're a better team. I think that the advanced metrics favor them as well, even though Golden State's interesting because their strength of schedule adjusted rating is significantly higher than their actual net rating over the course of the season. So, I think it might be one of the biggest, if not the biggest in the league, which I think is fascinating for a couple of reasons, but like on the season as a whole, like they haven't really been that good when you look at their net rating, but their schedule's been very difficult. So it's a little bit harder to gauge them like when you're looking at their advanced metrics. So I thought that was fascinating. But overall, I think that this is just a great matchup for Denver, and Looney's looked slower. So without Draymond, I really think this is a very tough spot to slow down Jokic.
I will say also that covering the Nuggets nightly, this is a game they'll get up for. Like, they will be prepared for this one. And when they bring their fastball, it gets tough. AC, Albert Win, the analytics capper. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with these guys. They're super sharp. They've done all their homework. I guess my only question, just playing devil's advocate, why do you guys think that the line is so short? Short as in within 2 possessions, 4.5.
So I think if we look at this, I'm actually kind of expecting, here's what I think. I think that these are probably heavily limited bets that you can't get down anything significant on. And that when the games finish on Saturday night and they know all of the injury status, that they will then reopen with other numbers. This number is already ticking up to 5 in the market because it's probably already taken enough. There's a couple other games that are kind of looking that way in terms of some early movement. So I think that what they did was they posted these numbers on limited because it's too far out. You can't accept high limits on these games because you don't know what the injury status is going to be. Like we're recording this on Thursday night. So we have Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. By the way, if there is an injury where this absolutely affects things, we apologize. Like this is the best that we can do. We had to get this done so people could be with family for the holiday, but that's like, I think part of it too. Andrew, you got something?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of answer Albert's question because I knew you were going to ask that, Albert. I knew it. It seems too easy. I think part of it is so the Warriors did cover that first game, that 4.5 earlier. It was a 3-point game. So I think part of it is that the Warriors did cover this number already, right? Adding in Jamal Murray is a couple points on the line, but the Nuggets didn't cover that original line. So I was kind of taking it as that's why it didn't seem quite as fishy to me.
I think instead of that though, because like they're not going to necessarily change the power rating off of the earlier outcome, but what I do think that they'll probably do is they are probably resistant to moving the Warrior. Like we're still early enough in the season. There's still leftovers. That's why we've found value on the Nets. That's why there's value on OKC still. That's why there's value on the Wolves, because there is this kind of skepticism of like, well, are you really that far off of your preseason power rating? And it's like with the Warriors in particular, I'm like, yeah, I think that they are. That's not to say this is a slam dunk. Golden State can win this game. I'm really curious to see this one. Like I don't have a play on it yet. I may have to just because that number is so short for the Nuggets at home in a big spot. But there's something about this that does make me nervous from the perspective of like, that win over the Celtics was such a rah spot. Like, does that shift how they feel? Sean's nodding his head. Like, if they had lost the Celtics game, I would have already bet this. But it's literally, they won that Celtics game, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Have they found, like, something to rally behind because I have so much under money on their win total, Sean? Like, I'm a little worried about it because of that.
It could be a little rah spot, but I kind of think it's a lot of fool's gold as well. The shot making that was happening coming down the stretch in that game was absolutely unbelievable. That's one of the best Steph clutch games we've seen in quite a while, if we're being quite honest. And what do you know? Typical Boston Celtics melting when things get a little hot in the kitchen. That didn't surprise me whatsoever. And Steph took advantage of that and knocked down some really big shots. The other thing here is when do casual public guys love to bet a bunch of money? All day on the couch on big holidays. The last 3 games coming in to Christmas Day, we saw Steph Curry just completely destroy Boston coming down the stretch on national television, on a doubleheader on TNT, whatever, the only game on. Then they're getting ready to play Washington. They're going to play the Blazers. Steph probably torches those guys as we record this. And then we get into Christmas Day. If a guy's sipping Matt Moore eggnog on the couch, doesn't want to take the Nuggets for whatever reason, it's like, oh, this is a great spot to back the Warriors. But I think overall, that team is, if anybody's going to get hot and make difficult shots like they were making, then they're going to typically get big wins against big teams. I don't think there's a big enough rah spot to go into Denver and get a W. Last point on this game, I think an interesting angle here would potentially be to take like a second look at like a second quarter offensive over. Andrew O'Connor-Watts talked about the bench and the scoring. Denver, the last 10 games, offensive rating on the bench is number 1 in the NBA. It's 70+, and the Warriors are top 10. We know Jokic in that rotation is going to be pretty standard, where he's going to play almost a vast majority of the first, if not the entire first, then come off the floor in the second. You might want to look at a spot there to potentially either get on the Warriors or, depending on how you're feeling about the total over for that quarter, look into that piece as well. Also, last point, we got to get Andrew a nickname. I can't be saying this whole name every time.
I've settled, I think, on A.O. Watts.
So
A.O. Watts? Okay,
A.O.
we could do that. I like that.
A.O. Watts or just Watts. A lot of my friends call me Watts, if you want to do that.
Right,
no, but the name is too cool not to have a nickname that's not just Watts. So I'll get back to you.
Fair enough.
His stage name, so to speak. Brian Fonseca, who wins this game? Gut impression.
Denver, and I mean, one, how could you not say Denver because of everything we've been talking about? But also, I kind of almost treat the Christmas Day games as playoff games because it has this sort of atmosphere. So I think Jamal Murray is somebody I would look at prop wise, because he could tear up this Golden State defense with Draymond Green not being there. And also Nikola Jokic is the obvious one because, as Joe mentioned, averages a triple double over the last couple of years against his team. I think this is one of these games because we haven't gotten as many of them as I would have thought this season that we see, oh shit, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, reminded that they're maybe the best duo in the NBA fresh off a title. And I think they could both be in line for big games. So I'll be looking at their overs as well to see what those props are going to be that day. But I'm almost treating these games, this one in particular, like it's a playoff game because I'm expecting that type of atmosphere.
One more on this one to wrap up. I've got a best bet on the over 230.5. There is not a number that this is going to repop at that I would say that I'm not going to be on it. I have this projected at 246.6. The Nuggets have gone under at home. They play a really slow pace. The Warriors will speed them up a little bit. The Warriors in road games, 8-6 to the over. And then more importantly, they are 9-5 to the opponent team total over. Denver's putting up a big number here. Denver's defense has slid over the last couple of weeks, so their overall numbers are going to be a little bit skewed. I really like the 230.5 over here. Let's go to the next game, which we actually have a little bit of a crossfire on, and it's we got a lot of interested parties in this one with who we got on the call right now. Let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers taking on the Miami Heat. This line, absolutely a preposterous, ridiculous Miami Heat -1.5 at home. Again, I want to just reiterate that the look ahead line that you could still bet actively at this point is the Miami Heat -1.5 at home. We have best bets on it from several. I will start with Jim Turvey. Jim, why are the Sixers your play +1.5?
I almost feel like this is this is Joe's land, but this feels like I'm in the courtroom. I'm like, honestly, you have to prove it to me, because to me, this number is absolutely crazy. So I know we do have someone here who's going to prove it to me, and I love that. But I mean, the Sixers right now are the second best team adjusted net rating. And, some of that's getting fat on that schedule that we talked about, really soft schedule, but they now have wins over Phoenix, Boston, Indy, OKC, the Lakers, the Wolves most recently. I mean, they clearly are in a pretty good zone with where they are right now. Miami does have Bam back, but now Jimmy's a little bit banged up. But I just, at full strength even, I don't see how this team, these two teams as they are, can be considered, a point and a half separating these two teams right now. Again, I have this vastly off of this. I have Philly favored. I have Philly favored by about 3.5. So I want to be brief because I really want to hear the other side of this, because even in our little pregame banter here, Albert was saying it smells a little fishy. So I'm with you, and I want to hear why you're on the other side.
Well, before we do that, I want to get the full Sixers side, and then we'll hit AC, who's got a best bet on the Heat. Shocker here, by the way, that Brian Fonseca does not take Heat money line here. Andrew O'Connor, A.O. Watts, why are you on the Sixers in this spot?
I haven't bet the Sixers here. I lean heavily to the Sixers. Part of what kept me off of them is the line just seemed fishy. Kind of that, again, kind of Albert in my head being like, why is it this line? So I am going to dig a little deeper, but I so far have not made a bet on this. I'm staying away for now.
Okay. I have a best bet. I've already bet it. I've bet Sixers, and there's a lot of reasons that AC is going to tell you that I get it's a tough spot. For me, this is, do you believe in the Sixers or do you not? And I will tell you that right now, because it is not, there are no flowers on trees. The weather is below 30 degrees. This is a great time to believe in the Philadelphia 76ers. When the days are short, you want to bet Philly. As they get longer, that we go the other way. But I will give the floor to AC here, who has a best bet on the Heat -1.5.
Yeah, I'm on the Heat, but I do want to give Philly its flowers. I don't think we have to caveat this team. This is a legit championship contending team. I know the history is rough, but there's no James Harden to really talk about anymore. But if you look at their, adjusted ratings, they're either top 1 or top 2 in the league. Joel Embiid looks like he's prime for a back-to-back MVP type season. They're 19-8, again, second in adjusted net rating, whereas Miami is way down in 16th. So this, on the surface, looks like a David versus Goliath type matchup. And I'm not saying Miami's that bad. All right. Sorry, Brian. I'm not saying Miami's that bad. But if you just look at the numbers, if you just
Brian
look
is
at the
not
numbers,
a Heat fan, by the way.
why
Not a Heat fan. Brian is Brian. We just gets tagged here.
No, he
Yeah.
is. He is.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I know, I fully realize that it's a trap, right? Portland was favored last week. I was on them. They lost by 40. Denver was favored tonight. I'm on them -2. I think they just took the lead. Just call me Mandalorian. I see the trap. I'm going to try to fight out of it. I think this is another, one of those sharp, really short favorites that actually pan out. And if you guys follow me, I'm really against short favorites in all sports, right? College football, if you look at the last 10 years, short favorites, when I say short favorites, it's -1 and -1.5. At home, they're only hitting 47%. NFL, same thing, -1, -1.5. They're only hitting 45%. In the NBA, however, where home court advantage is more at the forefront than other sports, in my opinion, the NBA, they're actually hitting 54% ATS when it's -1, -1.5 at home. And then you look at spots. I'm not talking about the team specifically, because if you ask me about the Sixers, I do believe in the Sixers more than the Heat. But this specific spot, right? So we're recording this on Thursday. Philly has to play Toronto at home on Friday and then fly to Miami. That means they're going to be celebrating Christmas Eve in Miami, away from family.
Yikes.
Away from family, away from, loved ones, hotels, whatever the case may be. Whereas Miami is at home on Friday against the Hawks. They're home again on Christmas Day against the 76ers. So they have a nice weekend plan, right? They could get fat and lazy, but I think they're going to get motivated. Coach Spo, and I just checked this right before, and it's kind of, mind-blowing. He's coached the Heat for 8 games in Christmas Day games. He's 8-0. Yes, 4 of those games included LeBron James, but 4 of them didn't. So he's 4-0 without LeBron James. He hasn't had a Christmas Day game since 21. He's back on Christmas. I like Coach Spo. I'm going to take the -1.5.
The spot, I will agree, is not great here. It's just that, like, there's such a huge gap between these two teams. Now, the problem is, like, look, when Bam came back and they got that win the other night, like last night, I upgraded them huge because that win over Orlando was like, that was a statement win. And I think that with Bam and with how Jaime Jaquez is playing, they're in a really good spot. But at the same time, Tyler Hero's back. So I don't know, like, you have to downgrade them as well. So I don't know, like, how to kind of balance that out. For me, this is just like, I can't get to this number. Like, if the Heat are dogs here, sure, but I've got them 6-point dogs at home based off of the power rating. I agree the spot's not great, but when I have that much of an edge, and here's one of the, I think, the bigger things. Bam's I've loved honestly, the most money I've ever made on a single NBA game was 2 seasons ago betting on the Miami Heat to win Game 5 at home versus the Sixers. Like, I was like, this is the one that I'm just going to load up on. And I went nuts on that game because I was so confident in Bam Adebayo's ability to match up with Embiid. It worked out. That said, I do think that this team with Nick Nurse is fundamentally different than everybody else. I think it's a much different. I think this is a different Sixers team, and I'm willing to believe it. Sean Little is laughing, so I want to know what Sean thinks about this spot.
No, you guys believe in the Sixers, huh? Well, here you go. Here's +1.5 on Christmas Day. A nice big present for you guys under the tree for everyone that loves the Sixers. There you go. Here's 1.5. Enjoy the free money while you guys sit back and hang out with your family and just watch the Sixers come into town and roll those guys out. Come on, fellas. Now let's talk about Philly here. Sincerely, one quality road win, and that was at Oklahoma City when they played the Thunder. I don't want to hear about any of these numbers the last 2 weeks because they played Detroit twice, Washington twice, Atlanta. I don't know even how this schedule happened. I actually tweeted out, it must be nice to be a Sixers fan because you just play the Pistons and the Wizards every night, and everyone just has a really good time. So then, okay, then we get to the game where it's like, all right, they're going to play Minnesota. Let's see what happens here. Minnesota's awesome. Embiid and Maxey just go absolutely ballistic and score 81 combined. So I'm still a little bit, the jury's still very much out on the Philadelphia 76ers. The net rating, all that stuff is so bolstered up by them beating up on these really bad teams. I'm really interested to see how they go into Miami. And AC, we talked about this on Buckets the other night. I fell into the trap and took the Rockets -3 against the Hawks. And I couldn't figure out why the number wasn't bigger. I had it more at like 5.5. And AC said, when I look at the board and I saw that Houston was only 3, it was alarm bells going off that maybe that's a game I should stay away from. When I looked and saw the Philadelphia 76ers were getting points against Miami on Christmas Day, absolute red flag for me. The only way I would look at this game is Miami or nothing. But this is a very much a stay away. Let's see if they can continue to keep rolling on the road now. They've been home beating up on bad teams, and they got 1 trillion from Embiid and Maxey versus the Timberwolves, which just happens in the NBA. I'm very interested to see how this game shakes out. There's no way I could back Philly here, though.
Let's go to AC quick.
Yeah, Brian mentioned it earlier. Christmas Day games for a regular season game is probably the closest you're going to get to as a playoff atmosphere in terms of fan interaction, engagement, coaching scheme wise, because they're going to have an extra day, right? Either of practice on Saturday, maybe
not really. I'll go ahead and
session.
push back on that one. They won't.
Okay, no extra practice, but I feel like the intensity level does ramp up on Christmas Day. And when it's playoff type basketball, when the pace is slow, Miami is 25th in pace. When possessions are at a paramount, you're not getting Dwight Powell guarding Joel Embiid. You're getting Bam Adebayo. You're not getting Joe Schmo that's on a normal regular season rotation guarding Tyrese Maxey. You're going to get Jimmy Buckets. Like, it's a different animal. It's a different beast. Christmas Day is. And I think the value here is not Miami. And I'm not saying Philly is the wrong play. It's just not a play that I would do. So it's either Miami or nothing at all.
Jim, I'll get to you in just 1 second, but Brian Fonseca looks like a pig in shit right now. So I just want to kind of get his reaction to AC's points and what he thinks about the game.
I mean, look, going by my logic and this being like a playoff atmosphere, there's no way I'm backing Philly in that. It's just not happening. Like, they just have to prove it to me, and I'm going to remain a skeptic of Philadelphia, a skeptic of Minnesota, a skeptic of like all these new and fun sort of teams that are like doing really well right now until we get to later in the year. We can talk about them in April, May if they get there. Philly is one of these teams. Love Tyrese Maxey. Think he's great. Think he's going to be an all-star. He's going to give the Heat problems. Joel Embiid, well, his prop against the Raptors, just for context, is 35.5 points over or under. And if that's going to be anything close to that for this game, that shit is an under. It's not happening. He has not had a 30-point game against Bam, against the Heat, since December 28th of 2019. If this shit is going to be 33, 34, 35, like, I like that under more than I like even the game. But going on the game straight up, my one red flag here for Miami, and this is a major one, so I understand, and part of me, I'm a little sick. So I understand if people want to get off, but in fourth quarters this year, they are 8-20, and their point differential is -104. 104. That is not great, right? But I think that I don't think that's going to stay there all season long, right? I think this is a team, like, now that they're healthier, I guess we can say, although Jimmy now has a sudden calf strain, but I think it's just a bullshit Jimmy Butler, I'll take a game off injury. I think they'll all be there for Christmas, and if that's the case, then Joel Embiid's going to be inefficient again, and he's going to have problems, and Tyrese Maxey will probably be the sort of engine for the Philadelphia 76ers in that. But there's no way, like, I'm with AC. It's either I take Miami or I just stay away, because there's reason not to trust either team in this spot, in my opinion. And for me, I would lean Miami, and I'm probably going to take Miami because, have you observed my reactions to things for the last 5 or so minutes? But that Joel Embiid over under, if that shit is 33, 34, 35, I'm banging the under. Like there's no way, unless Bam is in foul trouble, which doesn't happen very often for an NBA center.
Yeah, we'll get more on that in a second from Joe too. I want to go to Jim. Jim, what do you got?
Yeah, so actually, I think that Brian's point right there about Embiid and to Sean and Albert's point about talking about like playoff atmosphere, I think the biggest thing in a playoff atmosphere that Embiid, one of the biggest things he struggles with is the whistle gets tighter, right? And we saw that in the Minnesota game, he got quick fouls on Gobert, quick fouls on Towns, and those guys were to the bench. That was a huge factor in that game being as lopsided as it was. So I think, hopefully a lot of people are going to be watching these games. So if you don't have to bet it live, or you don't have to bet it pregame, you can bet it live. So watch and see how that whistle is, because two things: Miami has better depth to handle foul trouble than some other teams. So I think that's a point towards Albert and Sean's side. I still have too much of a gap, in terms of the spread to hop over to Miami. But keep an eye on how the whistle is. If they are calling it tight and Embiid sending guys to the bench quickly, then yeah, I'm sticking with Philly. If it starts to be like, Embiid's not getting those calls that he's gotten all season, Philly starts to look a little bit more sus. So I think if it's truly a playoff atmosphere, those whistles get swallowed a little bit, then maybe that is a factor towards Miami in this.
Here's two more to scare the absolute shit out of those of us that are betting the Sixers in this game. The last 7 matchups, Bam, in the just regular season, never mind the playoff series 2 years ago. Last regular season matchups, the Bam has won 7 of 9 versus Miami. When Bam has played, they are 7-2. Also, Eric Spoelstra, since taking over as head coach of the Miami Heat in 2008, 8-0 straight up, 7-1 against the spread on Christmas. What the fuck have I done? We'll see how this, but you know what? I'm sticking with it, because here's the thing. I totally agree with all of you. The number's still wrong here. You cannot get the Heat -1.5. Like, we are talking, if we put Sixers and Boston on the same tier, is Boston favored in Miami? Yes. Boston's favored in Miami. If this is 5.5, I'm probably betting the Heat based off all these trends. But like, I need a rah-rah Eric Spoelstra spot. I don't want -1.5. If they're trapping me, they're trapping me. I can't get there on the line. Joe, before we switch games, give me your cap. Brian mentioned it, but what's your cap on Joel Embiid? Let's put it at 33.5.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was thinking it would be. He's only gone over 30 points in 2 of 19 games head-to-head against Bam Adebayo. And Jim actually brought up an excellent point about the free throws. So on the course of the season, over the last 2 seasons, he's averaged 11.7 free throws per game. Against Bam Adebayo, over his last 10 games, he's only getting 7.9, making 6.7. In the games that he's gone under 30 points this season, the commonality is that he's seeing single-digit free throw attempts. So Bam's ability to contain himself and like essentially watch his hands, basically, because that's what Embiid does. He gets the hand bait, and then that's what Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert both kind of fell for in that Minnesota game. If they're able to, which Bam has been able to do successfully, is not put Embiid on the free throw line, and if the whistle's a little bit tighter as well, then maybe we don't see those extra opportunities where the clock stopped and he's actually an excellent free throw shooter. So I think that all of those things kind of matter. Additionally, when we look at the pace of this game, Miami's playing at one of the slowest paces in the NBA. So I think this is a pace down spot for Philadelphia. But couple that with the fact that you're looking at, that kind of like playoff game atmosphere. This game to me seems ripe for a slower pace game where Bam Adebayo can kind of give Embiid a little bit of difficulty. And the thing is too, if Embiid scores 30 points, everybody's gonna be like, yeah, he had a pretty good game. But when we're looking at the way this prop has been, 33.5 is not out of the question for us to see that type of line, just at the numbers that he's putting up and the what he's been able to hit previously in a bunch of these games. So give me under 33.5. I would take it down. Like, I would even play some all unders, to be honest with you, because over his last 10 games, he's only averaging 21.9 points per game against Bam Adebayo. So I might be looking for an all under on Embiid, to be honest with you.
All right, let's move on. The great stuff there. Let's move on to the next game, and it's Knicks and Bucks. Got a little bit less on this one, but I think it's still going to get some good stuff on it. Sean Little, let's go to you. You are on those New York Knickerbockers. They are getting 3.5 points versus the Milwaukee Bucks at home. There was a 4.5 in the market. It's now looking at 3.5. What is you like the Knicks here? Tell me why.
Yeah, really interesting spot with they play the Bucks on Saturday as well. It's an afternoon game, and then they have the day off. Then Christmas Day, they play the Bucks again in that early window. That's a very unique situation for both of these teams to be in. I was initially leaning to the over, which we'll get to, and then I was looking at the first half over. And then overall, I think what'll get me a more prominent slip, maybe a heavier slip on the Knicks is if the Bucks win the first game on Saturday. The Bucks win the first game on Saturday. This is the second game of the duplex spot at home on Christmas Day. I do like the Knicks a lot more to cover the number, but more than anything, the Knicks have become an over team. Without Mitchell Robinson, overall, it's been a lot more offense. They're now tinkering with Josh Hart at the center position. They're trying to scramble and figure that piece out. Taj Gibson got some run, but that's not going to be the answer for more than a Band-Aid patchwork type of situation. Hartenstein's still going to be there, but he can't play 48 minutes. They've now become an over team, and we know that the Milwaukee Bucks have been absolutely lights out to the over. 19-8 overall. The Knicks are 15-2 overall to the over as well. Bucks 7-3 to the over on the road. So if I like the over either way in this spot, depending on what number gets posted and finalized. If the Knicks lose the first game, I'll take the points in the second spot of the duplex on Christmas. I just know Jalen Brunson and those guys are going to show up in that big spot, and they're familiar with those guys. They are familiar with those guys. And if they lose that Saturday game, I believe this is like 9 straight losses to the Bucks. So they eventually will have that. You know, I had to shout out our guy Jay, revenge spot for the Knicks to eventually get a W, and knowing they saw those guys 2 nights prior. Pay attention to the first game of that duplex spot on Saturday. It'll tell you a lot, I believe, for that Monday Christmas Day game.
By the way, Jay was kind enough to send over a best bet, and guess what it is? Knicks plus 4.5. He is on this game right here. AC is thinking the exact same way that I am, and AC, I'll let you go and say what a conditional play for you. Tell me what the conditions are for you to make a play on this game.
Yeah, it's such a unique scheduling quirk, right? They're playing Saturday morning, if you will, 11 or noon, something like that, and then they're rematching again on Monday morning. So I doubt the Bucks are going to leave New York. It's another one of those spots where the visiting team is going to stay over and enjoy Christmas Eve in New York City. So yeah, if they lose Saturday night, if the Knicks lose Saturday night, especially in blowout type fashion, then I like the Knicks to kind of bounce back on Monday, Christmas Day.
I am the opposite. I want the Knicks to win on Saturday. Duplex spot, playing within 3 days, and you're a dog at home in both games since 2019. If you win that first game, if you pull off that upset, and then you're an underdog at home again, which they will be, that will not change the line for the Monday game. 15-25 straight up, 16-24 for 40% ATS. So the road favorite after losing that first set, if they're favored in that second one, is 60% against the spread. So if I haven't made this a best bet yet, I will wait for that game. And if the Knicks lose, I will probably struggle with this because the Bucks are a team that all my numbers are going to be like, fade them. They're bitches. Fade them. And I have to be like, no, they're a really good team, model. They're a championship contender. They just have a lot of bad defensive games on the schedule. They could still definitely win this game by margin. Part of the thing with this team that's hard to evaluate is their offense is so goddamn good. It is so good that it's really difficult to like get they can not play well and cover the number because their offense is so insane. I like the spot for the Knicks. I like all those opportunities, but for me, I think it's going to be Bucks or nothing if they lose in that Saturday game. What I think I'll do is I'll bet the Knicks on Saturday, and then I'll look to bet the Bucks in the second one because
really quick. Delara knows like the Knicks have been just a flat out roller coaster. They win one, they lose one, they win one, they lose one, and Tom Thibodeau and the guys coming off of a loss this year are 8-2-1 against the spread, coming off of a loss. So if they do lose that Saturday game, the heightened atmosphere and being Christmas Day at the Garden could be an even additional pick-me-up for them coming off a loss. But like we've been mentioning, this is a very unique spot that you don't see very often, two straight, a duplex spot with 2 day games on Saturday and then a holiday. So pay attention there.
There is no way that when the total reopens that this is the number that it's at, but the early look at Andrew A.O. Watt is like, no. The total on this game that on the look ahead was 223.5. Surprise, surprise. I'll be betting if this does open at 223.5, I will absolutely jam the over into oblivion.
Yeah.
I will say that there's no number this is going to pop at that I won't be on the over because I have this 245. AO, you've got it. What do you have this one projected at?
Yeah, 246.3. So they have the Bucks have a 127.4 offensive rating last 5 games. Knicks 121.1. And yeah, Knicks without Mitch, Bucks defense. That's an over.
I just don't. The Bucks defense is not good. It's still not good.
No.
They've improved, and so I was like, okay, maybe they've gotten the defense together. So I'm checking clean the glass. I'm like, the last 2 weeks, 18th in defensive rating. They're not good. They're just not good. So over is gonna be my best bet play there. We do have Jim. You have a same game parlay, which God bless you, sir.
Oh boy.
Actually, so this Sean was talking his cap of the game. I was like, yeah, I've got to play for that cap of the game. If you want a little lotto ticket to start the day, maybe it floats the rest of your bets the rest of the day. You don't even have to stress this land. So it's going to be Jalen Brunson and Knicks money line. And now, obviously, this is not out there in the market yet. I'm thinking you can get something around Brunson 30 plus and a Knicks money line around plus 350. But you know how we do it here. We're going to do a little, I'll talk through the cap and then we'll talk through some ways we can escalate this, bring it a little bit higher. But I mean, Brunson was basically created in a lab to just maul this drop defense for the Bucks here. I mean, he's got the crazy mid-range game, which has been bouncing back lately. He's shooting 47% from 3 this season. We've seen the Bucks get dominated by guards time and time again this season. Brunson did to him once already in that first in-season tournament game this season. He hit him for 45. Last year, he hit him for 44. That's when they had Drew Holiday. And Brunson is just that guy that, in a big Christmas Day game, like Sean was saying, like that Garden's going to be electric. He's going to be throwing up the celly like Sean just threw there. It's going to be good. So, we talk about the ladder versus the escalator. Which is it going to be? This is going to be the escalator for me because I'm going to put my foot on the first ring of this. And then all of a sudden I'm going to be at the top because I'm going to not know how to stop betting it. It's going to be Knicks 50 or Brunson 50 plus and Knicks minus 10.5. Some crazy number. I'm going to be at the top of the escalator looking back like, what just happened? But it's too good. You got to do it. Float your bankroll for the start of the day. So yeah, a little same game parlay action for you.
To that end, Joe Delera is not as ambitious as Jim Turvey, but he does also have a play on Jalen Brunson in this game.
Yeah, surprisingly, I'm not on it that high. But look, I like Brunson to go over his points line. We'll probably see like a 25.5, I think. He had 24 and 45 against the Bucks. The only reason I think he didn't go over that, he didn't really crush in the other game. He finished at 24. He was 0 for 5 from 3. We haven't really seen that often from Brunson this season. Additionally, when we look at point guards against the Milwaukee Bucks, like they're just smacking. Kyrie Irving 39, LaMelo 37, Luka 35, Brunson's obviously averaging 34.5, Maxey 31. Like the list goes on and on. So I really do like the spot for Brunson. I think that the line is just going to be a bit too low, and especially with the way these defenses have kind of been situated at this point in the season.
Brian Fonseca has another reason why Brunson did not go over in that last
first third quarter that Julius Randle's probably played this season. Because that game, I remember I was on Green Dot Daily. I was like, take Jalen Brunson over because he's going to, every time he sees Brook Lopez, his eyes light up and he wants to just float over him and shoot over him from like 16 feet out. That's what he does. But in that particular game, in the third quarter, the Knicks are playing pretty well leading up to this. And Julius Randle decides, as the Bucks are getting hot from 3, this is my only concern with the Jalen Brunson over. The Bucks are getting hot from 3, and then Julius Randle decides, I'm going to take a lot of turnaround fadeaways from 2 in order to combat this. And I'm going to go one-on-one with Giannis Antetokounmpo and Brook Lopez over and over again. And I'm going to shoot any shot I want. And Knicks fans, not y'all, Knicks fans were like, oh, Julius Randle had an amazing game. He had over 40 points. He shot 14 from 19. But I was like, I saw that third quarter and he took them out of the game. And I was like, no, like this is what's scary about betting Jalen Brunson overs for me is if Julius Randle is gonna do this shit. So, but I love Jalen Brunson in this spot. And I do think the Knicks should cover. We'll see. But I'm probably gonna bet whoever loses on Saturday, I'm probably gonna take them on Monday.
Yeah, as long as Randall's not the Grinch.
Seriously.
Julius, you're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. Your arms, they are so short. Milwaukee Bucks, by the way, give up the third most points to pick and roll ball handler this season via Synergy Sports. They give up, as a comparison here to put this in perspective, they give up 21.1 points a game just to the ball handler and pick and roll. Not with the roller, not on kickouts, just the ball handler coming off and scoring 21.1 points per game. They are closer to number 2 Detroit than they are to number 4 Boston. So, like, it's bad. So, yeah, hard to argue with this spot. Let's go to Celtics-Lakers and talk about this one. We don't have a lot on this game, so I'll go quickly. I have an under on this game, under 239.5. Lakers unders are 10-3 at home. I projected this down to 232.9. I don't have any sort of reason to think that this number will be drastically off this point. The numbers on Boston are pretty high consistently since they have a top 5 offense and they score on everybody. But look, the Lakers bring a lot of physicality and they do have wings and they have this is a good setup because you kind of saw it in the Warriors game. If you have the ability to deter Boston from taking shots at the rim, they will settle for jumpers. And the Lakers defense is pretty good. I don't lean towards Lakers on the spread whatsoever. That is not a thing that I am interested in betting. I do not want to at all bet on the Lakers. If anything, I kind of lean towards the Celtics here, only a 1.5 favorite. This should be more. They're a much better team than the Lakers. But the spot, I think, is good for LA. And the spot is specifically good for LA because of their defense. So with this number at 239.5, there is a 236.5 that popped in the market earlier. I'm still fine with that. Anything that's above 234, I think this is an underplay. So that's going to be my side on this. I will ask AC, what's kind of like your lean on this game? Like, what do you think about this Lakers-Celtics matchup?
Yeah, this one's tough. I'm really gonna see if Jason Tatum's playing, to be honest, to even have a opinion on this game, because he did sit out against Sacramento, and then you saw guys like, Hauser and those guys kind of they were on fire the other night. So again, the Lakers are a really tough team to read. I don't have an opinion on this specific game.
Sean, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, this is LeBron James on Christmas. I'm looking at the over PRA. It should be around 42.5 is my guess. It'll be somewhere right around that number. Joe Dallaire would know better than me, but it should be right around that 41.5, 42.5 number. LeBron James, 3 of his last 4 Christmases, he's gone over that 42.5 number. If we go back to 2022, last year versus the Mavs, he had 38, 6, and 5. 2021 versus the Nets, 39, 9, and 7. Versus the Mavs, he went under in this spot. This is the one under. He had 22, 10, and 7. But they were up 11 going into the fourth, and he only played 31 minutes in that game. It was an easy W for the Lakers. And then go back to 2019 versus the Clippers. He had 23, 10, and 9. So last 2 times also LeBron James has played the Boston Celtics. He has been extremely active. Once was January of this year. He had 30 field goal attempts. He had 41, 9, and 8. And then the game before that, it was 2022. He had 25 attempts. How many more Christmas games does LeBron James have? I know that's coming across his mind as well. I expect LeBron on Christmas Day to show up in a major way like he's shown up year in, year out. Also, if you watched the game the other night versus the Bulls, he's out, as we record this, he's sitting out the second leg of a back-to-back. He came with the Lakers fatigue excuse. He said fatigue is hitting us from every which way. And what that indicates to me is that, first of all, he was going to sit out that second leg. I actually was talking about this with a couple people. start listening to these post-game pressers with LeBron and veterans and things like that. He basically said right after the Bulls game, he said it without saying it. He insinuated, yo, I'm getting ready to sit out the second leg of this back-to-back. I'm not interested in playing this next game. It's not going to happen. I won't be around. I'm tired. Is basically what he said. Then they have one more game in between before Christmas. That's at Oklahoma City. We'll see if he shows up there, but I know he'll be energized and ready to go at home on Christmas Day. Give me the over PRA 41.5, 42.5, whatever they hang on the board.
Joe Delera, you got something for me?
Yeah, I was just looking at this. One of the things that I was noticing for Boston anyway is they've been giving up a lot of threes to point guards and like shooting guards throughout this season. So there might be an angle for like even an Austin Reeves over threes or D'Angelo Russell over threes. Just a couple of the angles because just the way that they've been playing defense, they've been surrendering that shot. So we'll have to kind of see where these lines come out, but maybe we can get like a 1.5 on D'Angelo Russell. He'll start hot, and then he probably won't see the floor in the fourth quarter. So, but I think that might be an angle for that.
Joe, do you know what betting on D'Angelo Russell in a big game environment is?
Look, it's the first quarter.
Look around you, Helen. We're at the threshold of hell. What are you doing? It's
Hey,
like the flying squirrel in the tree in Christmas Vacation. What are you doing?
depending on where you're at and where you celebrate the holidays, you might prefer to be watching D'Angelo Russell. So
Fair enough. LeBron James, by the way, last 12 seasons, 6-6 straight up and 6-6 against the spread on Christmas, but the under is 8-4. All right, we'll wrap up with Mavericks and Suns. Albert, you and I are in lockstep on this. This is an injury contingent play. Tell me what the injury that you're watching for in this game is.
Yeah, for those who followed me on Twitter, you guys know I'm in Dallas. I'm very, very close to the Mavericks team, and Derek Lively. So I guess I'll start it out by saying there's players in the NBA. If they're out of the game, they're gonna adjust the line by 2.5, some even 3 points, right? And then there's some players that are out of the game and the lines do not adjust. But for those who follow the sport really closely, we do understand that these players have a huge impact on the game. And I'm talking about Derek Lively. Not only does he provide size and athleticism for this team on offense and defense, especially defensive rebounding, but the alternate to Derek Lively is just really, really bad. There's no rim protection at all. And I like Dwight Powell as a player. He's just undersized and underskilled to be a starting caliber center for a winning team. And so if there's no Derek Lively in this game, I would look for Suns team total over. If you don't want to touch the spread, I would look for Kevin Durant overs, Devin Booker overs. It's going to be a layup line with Dwight Powell in there.
I've got a huge edge here on the over, and so I want to bet it, but I'm worried that this is going to be such a blowout that I'm going to wind up getting nothing on that. So maybe I should just bet the Suns based on that's probably what I'll do. Is if Lively's out, I'll just bet Phoenix, and Phoenix has been a good spot to fade, but I think that's a pretty good opportunity. Brian, you got a prop that you want to talk about for this game?
I mean, how could you not look at Luka PRA?
Right.
Yep. Christmas Day, and we talk about players that are potentially in for big nights. I'm not sure what shorthanded Phoenix is going to do defensively to try to stop him. I think Luka could be in for one of those ridiculous 40, 11, 9 type of lines in this spot. I'm not sure where I would lean team-wise, but Luka, I'm going to be zeroing in on his props, his PRA and points in particular, because I don't think Phoenix is going to have much for him.
Yeah, we'll see. They are so shorthanded right now. Just they are not able to really compete with these teams. They need Lively and Kyrie back immediately. They just don't have the structure. They don't have anything else supporting them to kind of get them there. And the defense is really bad. So I like that team total play as well from AC. Does anybody else have anything else on the Christmas Day slate that I forgot to get to? Because we had so many bets. I did it. It's a Christmas miracle. All right. You can catch all these guys in the Action Network app and on Twitter. You can catch Alex Capper, AC, Albert Wynn. You can catch Jim Turvey Bets. You can catch Andrew O'Connor Watts, which I always forget I always forget your handle. What is it again? AO Watts?
AO Watts 13.
13. The number is what I always forget. Joe Delera makes it very simple for me, so I should stop bitching about his name because I can at least remember that. Joe Delera, Brian Fonseca on Twitter as well, and Sean Little is at Chicago Flow. Brian, yours is Brian Fonseca, yes?
With an NY at the end, because that's where I'm born and raised.
Yeah, that's nice. Traitor, Heat
Got
sympathizer.
your Tim's on.
All right. That's gonna wrap it up. Thanks so much, my producer David Payne, for doing this episode. I know it's gonna be a little bit extra work, so we thank David for his help. Thanks to our video team, Hutton Jackson and the crew, for getting this up on youtube.com/The Action Network. My thanks to you to all of the listeners. Our show has been such a success for Action Network, and we're so excited for it. I love doing this show. It's been absolutely fantastic. This isn't the last show for the year. We'll be around next week. I will not towards the end of the week because I'm going to Disney World, motherfuckers. But you will have best bets throughout the week. To keep you updated, and then we'll hit the new year and we'll be off and running. Hope you guys have great bets on Christmas. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas if you celebrate. We'll see you guys again next time. And until then, ho, 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 let's get buckets.